with engaging speakers coming from a variety of backgrounds and talking about a variety of topics. And this session will be no different. By the way, if you missed any of the sessions this week, they will be available on salesforce.com/video, so you can see them all there. Now, as Lynn introduces the final panel today, remember that this conversation doesn't end here. It's a day to build awareness, to have conversations, to learn and explore all around things like diversity, STEM, leadership, equal pay, culture, and innovation. But before we start the keynote, Peter and I have a couple guests that we'd like to introduce you to. And with me on stage, I have Tracy Fisher. She is COO of a company called Fibernetics, a Canadian company specializing in voice and data communications. So Tracy, tell me a little bit more about Fibernetics, and what was the challenge that was being faced that brought you to us at Salesforce?
Thank you, Julie. Fibernetics is a national telecommunications company in Canada, and 4 years ago, because of a very entrepreneurial, spirited CEO and president, we have 9 different brands that we have to manage from an operations perspective, and we have 9 unique billing systems. So our marketing team had absolutely no clue who our customers were. They didn't have a CRM, and we were actually challenged with their billing systems in general. So I started to evaluate different integrated billing systems as well as CRM platforms, and ultimately was able to make the Salesforce decision. And I was kidding with my team that thankfully back 4 years ago, the Service Cloud wasn't in the top quadrant, but we definitely made the right decision because I really could see the Service Cloud benefits for Fibernetics. And it took about 7 months to roll out, but now we have a front-end platform that pulls all of our multiple billing systems into one, which is a phenomenal now experience for our agents.
So tell me, what's next in the journey for Fibernetics? You mentioned fun in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's exciting. So we're 4 years on the platform. Like I said, we've done mergers and acquisitions. We have a lot of brands, and this year looking at Lightning and IoT, we've been able to actually join the ISV platform. Our phone system integrates with Salesforce. But this year we're going to really take advantage of some of the apps and do more of the fun, sexy elements of Salesforce. So it's exciting.
That sounds like fun. Tracy, thank you for sharing your story with us. Tracy Fisher from Fibernetics.
Thanks, Julie. I'm joined now by Kirk Capay, the CEO of a wonderful Salesforce partner, Aptus, and our own Meredith Schmidt, our Executive Vice President for Global Revenue Operations here at Salesforce. Meredith, this is something kind of new. This is the second time this week that we've appeared in the role of a customer, of a partner.
It's kind of amazing to be here as a customer, and with great partners like Aptus, DocuSign, and a lot of others.
The thing that we've been asked a lot over the last few years, things like the Most Innovative Company Award and so on, is how are you doing what you do? How are you growing at 30% year on year without choking on your voice products? And Meredith, when you look at what we have to do, I mean, I've sold oil, which is a pure commodity. I've sold satellites where you don't have very frequent negotiations. You're in that gray zone where it's a complicated product, highly tailored for individual customers, no simple price list. What's it like to do what you do at Salesforce in that environment?
It's a lot of fun. I think the challenge is what makes coming to work every day the most fun, and just solving problems. And I think it's all about transformation. And working for a company like this that's so innovative, keeping up with that innovation from the back office, running operations, and just, how do we introduce new products faster? How do we acquire companies and get the products into the product catalog in the hands of AEs selling faster? That's what it's all about.
Yeah, Kirk, tell me about when Aptus got involved with Meredith and her team, bringing the whole concept of a scalable, integrated operation to something that in the past has not been either of those things.
Yeah, so about 9 years ago, we made the decision to use the Salesforce platform to build our entire business, and we created a product footprint that was going to cash. So basically, when Salesforce finishes, we connect Salesforce to the financial system. And Meredith owns the entire Salesforce essentially going to cash process. So we've been engaged with Meredith for a number of years now, helping her all the way through the process.
Meredith, the phrase bringing the back office to the front office is so widely used as sort of an empty, vacuous buzz phrase, but you told me in your 10.5 years here, you've never logged into our back office system. You've brought all of the action and decision critical decisions. And the phrase revenue operations is one that I never heard before I got here. Can you describe what that perspective could mean to other customers who are here?
Sure, I mean, I'd love to challenge people to think about revenue operations in a different way. Revenue operations at Salesforce is really the whole back office, the backbone of sales. It's new product introductions, product operations, sales operations, order management, billing, sales compensation. It's the end-to-end. I actually call it quote to compensation. I'd stopped using cash, but all the way quote to comp. And it's really a new idea of how you bring all those systems together and bring all the data in one platform. And that's what's so powerful about what we've done, is bringing data and using the data to drive automation.
A combination of the specific domain expertise that Apple brings to that and the extensibility of the Salesforce platform, we really can make it uniquely ours, but with the full leverage of everything you've done at Apple. That's a wonderful combination that everyone here can emulate when they get back to their office. Thank you so much, Meredith. Great to have you as part of the program today. Julie, I don't see you up here on stage. That suggests to me that you've got something too big to fit on this stage. What do we got going on down there?
Well, I have some special people down here with me today, and it has to do with being a sysadmin. So behind every Salesforce implementation is at least one sysadmin. And sysadmins, they learn, they certify on all kinds of skill sets and knowledge here at Salesforce. They're doing things from integrations to workflows to changing page layouts, and it's a job that's never really ever done. Now, I have with me Christy Garafola. She is the Director of Community Enablement here at Salesforce. And she's going to talk about what it takes to be an awesome admin and to recognize the special individuals. So, Christy, what does it take to be recognized as an awesome admin?
Well, thank you, Julie. So, there are many characteristics that make up an admin, a great admin, but there are a few characteristics that make up an awesome admin. And those characteristics really center around passion. They have a passion for learning. They're always out there seeking more knowledge about technology or enhancements to the system so that they can build the best application for their company. A passion for success. They know that their success is the foundation for the success of their end users, for their company, and also for their fellow admins in the community. So they're always going above and beyond to make sure that success is felt in the ecosystem. And finally, they're passionate about innovation. They think outside the box. They really go above and beyond to work together to find problems, solve problems for today's business problems.
Well, let's get to it. Let's head on these awards.
Sure. So today we're giving out our first set of Awesome Admin Awards to some very awesome admins. Toya Greenwood with Cincy Tech and the Cincinnati Women in Technology User Group. She really represents an amazing leader in the community and is also the spirit of the Awesome Admin Group. Next up, we have Squire Kirschner with Robert W. Baird. Squire really represents the passion for learning. He's an inspiration to everyone in the community, always going above and beyond to learn everything he can and share that knowledge with everyone. So thank you, Squire. Rebecca Bader-Slice with Torrent Consulting. Rebecca is an amazing role model for women in technology and an inspiration for everyone looking to get into more technical work with their awesome admin skills. Thank you, Rebecca. Then finally, we have Amanda Malloy with University of Iowa. Amanda is an amazing example of the passion for success. She goes above and beyond to help those in the community to share her knowledge and make sure that everyone else is successful as she is. So thank you, Amanda.
Please join me in congratulating these 4 award winners for their skills, their dedication, and for being awesome admins.
Thank you, Julie. I'm joined now by Sigal Zami, the Vice Chairman, Network CIO at PwC, who we have the great privilege of welcoming as presenting sponsor for this amazing afternoon. So please thank PwC for their role in bringing you this afternoon's event. Sigal, the PwC survey of CEOs this year found 85% of them have a diversity strategy and are actively seeking to draw talent from more diverse sources than they had before. And I wonder, can you tell us about how PwC is addressing this challenge themselves?
Thank you, Peter. PwC is a big professional services company. We are operating in 157 countries. We have over 200,000 employees, and we're doing a lot of campus hiring, focusing mainly on diversity. Just as an example, in the last quarter, we've hired in our consulting business only in the US over 3,000 people, and 1,000 of them are in technology. So we're focusing mainly on diverse talent. We're doing a lot of campus recruiting. And we are focusing on retaining people by offering great benefits, great opportunities, and working on leading edge technologies. And we have been recognized for that. We've been chosen as top 50 companies for diversity by Diversity Inc. Also, Computer World has recognized us as, in 2015 as a top company to work for in IT, and they specifically talked about our leadership development, opportunities for growth, mobility, and our diversity as well.
Sigal, I wonder if we can elaborate on some of those things. I mean, PwC, it's 180,000 people, and your product is their talent. And so, when we talk about how do you, at this kind of scale, build, the strength and the richness that a diverse workforce can bring. Can you tell us about a little bit more about some of the internal programs you do to create the right conversation around this and make it operational for PwC?
So we're doing it top to bottom and also from the bottom up. Our CEO, Bob Moritz, has led a conversation 2 years ago, a webcast with Sheryl Sandberg around leading and accelerate talent. We also followed up 2 years ago with a webcast that was broadcast globally across all campuses that was focused on women in confidence. And on the panel we had the two authors of the book, The Confidence Code. So that's from the top down. From the bottom up, we have 1,500 women in technologies that created the Women in Technology community. And they are really working around sponsorship, mentoring, networking around women, providing women opportunities and exposure to leadership and leadership development programs. So we have that from the bottom up. Also, PwC globally has joined the UN for He for She initiative that is focused on gender equity. And we're very proud to make women and men focusing on the conversation together.
Sigal, one of my goals for these conversations at Dreamforce is that people here should be able to put themselves, in your head, through your eyes, and say, I can do that. When they get back to the office on Monday, what's something that anyone in this office can do actively to begin the kind of vigorous and fast-paced journey toward real progress in this area that has been such a distinguishing factor at PwC?
So I would say first and foremost, have the conversation. I think when you go back to the office, make sure that you talk about diversity, it's out there in the open, and not just women talking about it, but women and men have that conversation. Talk about the challenges of minorities. Realize that people will and might have some blind spots about diversity and minorities. So just recognize that. I came to PwC after a long career with GE. GE had a long history of having a women's network. I was part of that, and I have to say that being part of the women's network, having the sponsorship, the exposure, having that kind of conversation really accelerated my career as a woman in technology. So have that conversation. And then, one other thing people can do, they can go to pwc.com to our Accelerate page. We have a lot of thought leadership around leadership development, minorities, how to hire millennials, how to close the gender gap, and how to really innovate around talent.
Those are fantastic ideas. There's never been a time when it's been more appropriate to initiate that conversation, the climate of acceptance that this is a topic that deserves discussion in the workplace. We should all be striking while the iron's hot in whatever workplace we're in, and take the example of PwC to heart and say, I can do this at any scale. Sigal, thank you for outlining such an obvious path to success.
Thank you very much.
Julie, we have another genuinely amazing story to share before we get on to this amazing discussion this afternoon. Can you tell folks who we have to share with them here?
Well, Peter, at some point I'm sure that you have received an online petition about some particular worthy cause that you want your friends to support. And it could be related to gay rights, it could be animal cruelty, it could be bullying, it could be poverty. But if you've received one of those, there's a good chance that you've been introduced to Change.org. Change.org is the world's largest platform for social change. I'm very pleased to have with me today Jennifer Dulski. She's an influential leader who, among other things, she was the first woman to sell a company to Google. And since then, she has found her home at Change.org as the president and COO. So Jennifer, what I'd love to start start with is explain to me change.org a little bit more, and also what drew you there.
Sure. So Change.org, as you mentioned, is an empowerment platform. We now have more than 115 million people around the world using the platform every day to create and win campaigns for change on things that matter to them. We're winning now, our users are winning almost one victory every hour. And what drew me there is the opportunity to use the experience I have building companies to actually do something that makes meaningful impact in the world on an everyday basis. So the internet has already been used to revolutionize commerce and search and community, but we aren't yet solving some of the world's most difficult problems, and that's what we're tackling. And I also get the joy of working with people who are excellent technologists and some of the world's best social organizers, which is an interesting group to bring together. So I've learned things like how to be very careful about what I say. Like I can no longer say kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I now need to say feed 2 birds with 1 seed. And what some people don't know about our company is that we are a company, not a nonprofit. So we're what's called a benefit corp that uses the power of business to drive social impact.
So we're here focusing on women in leadership today, and I am sure you have a ton of stories of women who have used change.org as part of their cause. Tell me about one of those that's really impactful.
Yeah, so it is true that women and girls are using our platform every day to do just incredible things. And one interesting stat is that although men start more petitions, women win more often. And we've seen some incredible campaigns. So just this year, a 14-year-old girl named Josie from Australia who had deep personal tragedy. She was a victim of domestic violence, her mother as well, and her mother actually committed suicide. And she was able to take that tragedy and turn it into something good by creating a campaign asking her district of New South Wales, Australia, to put domestic violence into the curriculum in their schools. She felt that if she had been taught about this in school, that she might have been able to reach out for help and save her mother. And so she successfully engaged with decision makers, including politicians and other people in power to make this change. They were successful. She's just won this huge award in Australia, and now she's out to make this a national campaign.
That's an amazing story. Now here at Salesforce, you know that all week we've been working on the philanthropic effort to raise 1 million books for kids. And we have a story here with Jennifer that has to do with books as well in Spain.
That's right. So books being critically important to children's development and education. There was a mother in Spain who realized that given the economy in Spain, it turns out that buying textbooks for their children's school was too expensive. 2/3 of families in Spain could not afford the books for their children to go to school. And they didn't have a system in Spain that allowed for people to borrow books and at a cheaper cost or borrow and return them. And so she created a campaign to create what's called a book bank in the entire country of Spain. And she was at first unsuccessful. She got 150,000 signatures on this petition. She took it to the elected officials and they didn't act on it. But instead of stopping there, and this is what we see but from a lot of women who run campaigns on change, is that she kept going until she had 300,000 signatures. She took it back to Parliament and they voted to pass this into law. So a huge win for kids' access to books.
Now speaking of kids, that's a great story too. How young can you be to get working on change.org and to create a petition? Can you be as young as possible? Is your mom and dad be involved? How's that go?
Yeah, sure. So we do see kids starting lots of petitions on change. If you're under 13, you do need a parent or a teacher to help you, and we sometimes see whole classrooms of kids successfully start campaigns, for instance, to do things like persuading Crayola to start a recycling program was one that was done by a classroom of 4th graders in California.
And from the bigger scale, as far as organizations go, if you want to have your organization involved with change.org?
Absolutely. So we see organizations, both nonprofits and companies, using change.org on a regular basis, partially to listen to their customers. So as you know, we're living in an age of very much increased transparency. Everything you do is on the internet. And this is a tool now where companies program based on what they heard from their customers in India.
Jennifer, all your stories have been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. Jennifer from change.org.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julie, Jennifer. I'm up here with one last guest, someone who means a lot to me here at Salesforce. Jane Hines is our Senior Vice President for Public Relations. One of the first people with whom I had an interaction before I joined the company, and she's expanded her role considerably over time since then. Jane, I really just wanted to have people find out from you what it's been like to have the kind of career you've had in a company that's grown like this, in an industry that's not famous for having women rocket to levels like the one you're at.
Thank you, Peter. Salesforce has been such an incredible experience for me. When I first joined the company, it was about 200 people. We had offices that were in a basement at a big building down the street, and it's been a rocket ship. It's been a wild ride, and now we've got more than 17,500 employees. And I've had the experience to go live abroad. I've had the experience to build a team, and it's just been an amazing, amazing time.
That's kind of the thing that has led us to where we are today with this amazing Women's Leadership Day, and having the privilege to have an executive who outranks me join me in introducing, ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Marketing Officer of Salesforce, Lynn Voivodich.
Good afternoon and welcome to day 3 of Dreamforce. How's your Dreamforce going? Great. Well, we had an amazing day today with our first ever Women's Leadership Summit. It was just so inspirational to hear so many stories. And I have the unique privilege of introducing our closing keynote for the Women's Leadership Summit and Innovation Panel. Our first speaker is Susan Wojicki. She's CEO of YouTube. She's been both on Forbes and Fortune magazine's most powerful women in the world. And just a few weeks ago, she was noted by Time as the most important woman on the internet. We're also very privileged to have her here at Salesforce on our board of directors. Our next panelist, you may know her from TV Days Dark Angels. She's also been a superhero on Fantastic Four, but she's transitioned from movie star to business mogul. And in 2012, she launched The Honest Company to provide a safe, clean place for our families. And now The Honest Company is valued at billions of dollars. It's just incredible. And then finally, we're so excited to have Gayle King as our moderator. Gayle is a 3-time Emmy Award-winning journalist. You may have breakfast every morning with Gayle on CBS this morning. In fact, she hosted CBS this morning, got on a plane, and came right here to Dreamforce. So we're so pleased to have her join us. And please, Dreamforce welcome to Susan, Jessica, and Gayle.
Dreamforce people. Listen, I've been up since 3:30 East Coast time. I started Weight Watchers on Saturday. I'm wearing 2 pairs of Spanx. I'm a hot mess, but I am thrilled to be here. I pulled up to the hotel. I had heard Salesforce, big deal. I did not know it was this big a deal. I walked into the hotel, no lie. I meet somebody named Aileen. And so I said, Aileen, tell me what this is. I've been reading about it, so I knew the numbers. But there's still nothing like when you see it. There's a street that's now, I said to people, so that's an actual street where they're sitting there with the grass? Yes. Aileen says to me, this is the IT conference where business is done, deals are made, and connections are formed. Is that true? And then Ginger says to me, another woman who was standing there says, magic happens here. And I started laughing. She goes, no, I'm serious. Magic happens here. When you walk around, you can feel the electricity in the room. And I have to say, I know that's true. So I really am. I'm thrilled to be with you guys. And I know you guys are too. So this is the thing, Jessica, in your honor, this came to the magazine the other day. I want you to know that I am wearing Honey Kiss.
Yay!
Yes. And I'm wearing Creative Kiss. So I'm thinking you have a thing for kisses.
I do.
So when you're looking at my lips and you're thinking, I wonder what she's wearing, you know it's something from Jessica Alba.
Very kissable lips.
Very kissable lips. Okay. I like that. And Susan, I want to start with you both because I'm not going to assume that everybody knows your two personal stories. So Susan, you'll start us off because Google started in your garage. I'm wondering, you were friends with Larry and Sergey. What was the rent you were charging them?
Yeah.
Way back then.
$1,700 a month.
$1,700 a month.
And I took a security deposit. Well, for the house.
And what did they tell you they wanted to do?
Oh, they, at the beginning, said, we're going to create a search engine, and it's going to be the best search engine. And they proceeded to say how they were going to change the world. And then in the next sentence, they would say, yeah, what's the rent for your garage? And so I said, well, yeah, $1,700 a month. And
Which back then, was that expensive or not expensive, $1,700 a month?
well, this is what had happened. Was I had just bought a house, and as everyone who lives here knows how expensive it is to live in the Bay Area.
Well, I've heard that it's more expensive here than it is to live in New York, and I think New York is outrageous.
It is really expensive, and it's even more expensive now, but it was expensive back then. And I had to convince my husband that it was okay to buy a house because he was worried we weren't going to be able to cover the mortgage. And so as part of this agreement, I agreed that we would rent some of it out. We thought we'd rent to a student, but then it turned out that Sergey and Larry came and said they wanted to rent it. And so I rented it to them, and I charged them $1,700 a
And I'm
month.
thinking that was really money well spent all the way around. Jessica, I like your story. Because I remember when Honest first started, and I said, Jessica Alba, the actress, has a company? That was really my thinking. And we can honestly say that Honestly started because you were frustrated. What were you frustrated about? And then there's the story of Little Rash. Could you tell us what that means?
Yeah, so I was pregnant with my first daughter about 8, I guess a little over 7.5 years ago now. She's 7. And I had an allergic reaction to laundry detergent that my mom recommended that I use. And I was like, what's the difference? Like, why do I have to use this one? And she goes, because it's what I used on you and what you have to use, and just do it. And I was like, all right, okay, of course. So I did it, and I actually got an allergic reaction to the laundry detergent. And I called my mom, and I was like pregnant, and I was like hot and sweaty as you are pregnant in the summer, and I was having allergies and a rash, and I was like, this isn't safe for me, this can't be safe for a baby, why did you recommend this, what's in this? And she was like, you asked me for my advice, if you don't want it, don't take it. And she's like, call me back when you're not so hormonal.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
I was like, but what's in it? She's like, I don't know. I was like, so I'm gonna Google it. I did. I Googled it. And I found out that there are lots of untested and potentially harmful chemicals in everything from a laundry detergent to hand soaps, to cleaning products for your bathrooms, to diapers and wipes, to cosmetics. And
you said, I'm going to do something about this. This is what always amazes me about women. My kids are now 28 and 29, but when they were little, there were these bottles called Ansel bottles that had holes in the middle of them, so it was easier for the baby to grab. And I used to think, why didn't I think of that? Because it seems so simple. And it makes me think of your example that you didn't like what was going on. You said, I know that we can do this better.
Yeah.
And you started looking around.
Yeah, I tried to shop around the problem. I was buying stuff online, I was buying stuff from other countries because they have stricter rules. And I was like, this is so hard, it's so time consuming, and isn't there just one brand I can trust that's transparent about what's inside and that makes safe and effective products for every part of your home?
You couldn't find one.
And I couldn't find one brand that did it all, so I created it. And that's the honest company.
That's what we do, we create it. This is what they say about you, Susan. This is what they used to say back in the day. The most famous Googler you do not know. The most famous Googler, you're on every list. You've been on the most influential, the most powerful, because you saw something in YouTube even though you guys had Google Video. What was it that you saw?
Yeah. Well, so I had been
Susan, you all know is the head of YouTube, right? This room knows that. Okay. All right.
I had been leading Google Video, and what happened was we were trying to, which was very similar to YouTube at the time, where you could upload content and video and watch it all in real time. And what happened was we were trying to go to Hollywood and get different deals of content there, but then we had people all over the world uploading content. And we had these kids in a dorm room in China that videotaped a song of themselves singing the Backstreet Boys. And they actually had their roommate in the background. And it was so funny that what happened was it became one of the first viral hits that we ever had. And the numbers were just through the roof. And so, and when I compared it to some of this other content that we had thought that everyone wanted to watch, they did want to watch that too.
Yeah.
Just the viral nature of this content created by students in their dorm room just was incredible. And so
You said, let's get down.
yeah, so I think what we realized was that people all over the world could upload something and that other people wanted to watch it. And that was actually a pretty important insight, that anyone could be a creator, anyone could be a producer, that anyone would have a story or something they wanted to share. And that other people actually really wanted to see that and wanted to enjoy that
But
experience.
what's the difference between, because when somebody tries to show you their home movies, or their wedding, if you weren't there, you just sort of sit there and politely nod and think, I don't really want to look at this. I'm amazed that people want to see what strangers are doing.
Yeah.
And yet I sit here as somebody who uses YouTube often on I was going to say sometimes more than once a day. So what is it that you knew that you saw that you said you knew this was going to work?
I think when I first saw that hit, it was, when I watch that video today, I still laugh.
You do?
I still laugh, it still makes me smile. And just the fact that it wasn't that I was laughing, I looked at the numbers and I saw just the people all over the globe wanted to watch other people's content. And, I think for the first time, there were a whole bunch of other videos too like that, where we just saw people want to engage with other people. And even though other people upload a lot of video that they don't want to see, so we get hundreds of hours uploaded every minute to YouTube, and not everything's going to become a viral hit, but lots of content does become really popular and people do want to share it. And just the stories that have come out of it and the way for people to communicate with a global audience is so powerful.
But you saw that. It's sort of like just you saw that it doesn't exist in the market, it needs to exist in the market, and rather than just accepting what your mom had said, which most of us do, my mom tells me, okay, let's do it, and that's what, like God speaking back in the day. But you said there has to be a better way. In Hollywood, did they take you seriously when you said, I want to make this into a business? What was the reaction?
They pretty much just looked at me cross-eyed.
Cross-eyed?
Yeah. And they were like, right, you want to create a business. Good luck.
Yes.
And they're like, so why don't you just do like a perfume? You can do a licensing deal. And I was like, no, that's not really what I want to do. I mean, that's not really going to make a difference in the world.
And they said, but you look good in a bikini, don't you want to do that? Which, Jess, you do look good in a bikini.
Thank you.
So Hollywood didn't take you seriously.
No, they didn't. And they also don't understand, technology. I actually am part of the generation, I'm part of the digital generation. And we get information online, we share content online. I learn about products online, and that's the community. Like, it used to take a village to raise a child, it's now online how we do it, and it's the internet. That's our new village. And I'm part of that millennial generation that cares about that, and so it was important for me to launch this company online. And that
you sought out Brian Lee.
And so I sought out Brian Lee.
Did he leap on it right away?
He did it. He created a company called LegalZoom.com, and another company called shoedesk.com. And he actually created the first e-commerce subscription business model. So he was kind of the only guy, because I wanted to do a subscription of diapers and wipes or household essentials. And the only way I could do that is with the guy that created the business model. And so I went to him, he was friends with my husband, and he turned me down.
And he's friends with your husband, Cash.
He's friends with my husband, Cash. Yeah. And so then...
Were you surprised he turned you down, especially since he's...
At that point, I was getting rejected by so many people. It was just like, oh, another one. Great. But what I did is instead of it making me devastated and like go away, it made me more determined to make it work. So I took all the notes. He asked me a bunch of questions. I learned that if there's like more than 20 questions that you can't answer in a room, then you need to go back and reassess what you're doing. You want to like whittle it down to probably
Say that again, if there's more than 20?
More than 20 questions with a new business idea that you can't answer, then you're not prepared. And so that was one of the learnings that I got. So I went back, I pitched it, I had a 50-page deck, it was too long. I got it down to 10 pages, it was concise, it was to the point. I addressed an issue, I came up with a solution, and I pitched him 18 months later. He had had a kid, and my husband, that was one thing, and my husband said to him, look, 18 months later, she's like spending all this money, all this time on this, talk her out of it. And then he joined me. Then he was like, oh my goodness, I want my new baby to grow up in a safer and healthier world. Everything matters now in a totally different way. And he saw that his wife's habits changed and how she looked at ingredients, cared about what she was bringing into her home. And it really was seeing his wife's habits change that he felt like maybe I was on something.
Good on you that you didn't give it up. Good on you. Susan, you know something about babies. This is what I love about Susan. Susan has 5 children. And I just go, wow. And she's a badass. And she has 5 children. And she's still working. And you have no plans to stop. And your children range in age from what to what?
My oldest is 15, almost 16. He's not driving yet.
Yes.
Which is a little scary for me. And my youngest is 8 months.
By the same husband?
Yes, same husband. And he's here.
He's here.
He's here in Vegas, yes.
That is a fair question to have that big of range in age, and it's by the same husband. I love this. Yeah. I got divorced when my kids were 5 and 6. I'm all healed and everything. But so I really like it when I hear stories like this. Okay, so the kids range in age from 15 to 8 months. And one of the things that struck me about you, and it's all the companies are talking about maternity leave, paid maternity leave in particular. Yeah, I say that too. Netflix. When I had my first child at 31 and my second one at 32. They're 11 months apart. Where it's one of those things where you say to the doctor, I thought you said this birth control was supposed to work. That was not something like that. But in TV news, May is a big ratings month. Their birthdays are May 12th and April 28th. And I thought, God, I gotta have the babies quickly and get back on the air. And so for me, I never thought that was an option because I was thinking, I gotta get back as soon as possible. And we live in an age today that now women are thinking differently, and I think companies are thinking differently, certainly about paid maternity leave. And when Netflix announced that they were going to do paid maternity leave for a year, people were doing the hula. And now I think everybody's starting to think differently about paid maternity leave. Do you agree?
Yeah, I definitely agree. When I went on maternity leave this time, it was my 5th maternity leave, and I started researching maternity leave because I was going on my 5th and I wanted to better understand how other companies do it. And what I was really surprised to learn is that most women in the United States do not have paid maternity leave. And I've been taking it for granted. regardless of the job. So in the private sector, only 12% of American women have paid maternity leave. And 25% of American women go back to work after 10 days.
After 10 days?
10 days.
I believe that, yeah.
So,
Because we're worried, excuse me, I got the hiccups. We're worried, Susan. We're worried that if we take time off to stay at home and spend time with the baby, that maybe our jobs are returned.
yeah. I mean, I think that's definitely what people worry about, and I think companies also worry about losing an employee or having them not be available on the job. But I think what we found, and Google now offers 18 weeks of paid maternity leave for the mothers and 12 weeks for the fathers. 12 weeks for the fathers. And what we found is that actually having a longer paid maternity leave actually helped us retain women at Google. And so what we found is that, and I just went through this, so I felt like I had the same experience, which is that you're more ready to come back to work when the kids are a little bit older. You're sleeping better, they're sleeping better, they're getting closer to eating real food instead of just you and milk. Yeah, and so just, I thought about it on day 10, and I thought, first of all, you can barely walk, and you're barely sleeping, and I thought, what would happen?
You're very sore.
You're very sore, and your hormones are all readjusting, and I thought, what would happen if I had to go back to work on day 10?
Day 10, yeah.
And I thought, I would quit. That's what I would do, because I wouldn't be able to do that. And the really sad thing is that just a lot of women don't have that choice. They have to go back either because of their job or because they want to have the income. So I've been a big advocate, and I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. I'm having my 5th baby, I'm going on my 5th maternity leave. But what I also highlighted is that paid maternity leave was also good for business.
Yes.
And I pointed that out because we saw that at Google. California actually has instituted paid maternity leave, and they then did a study and saw that over 90% of the businesses felt like there had been either no impact or positive. And so really, I think when you look at the stats, you can see that it really makes sense. And there's a real cost to women, to the health of their children, if women are going back right away, just the breastfeeding and the ability to really recover.
Does that resonate with you, Jess? That if you take the time in the beginning for the baby, that when you come back to work, your head is in such a better place. Because I remember when I came back after 3 days, because we were in ratings, and what you realize that any business that you're in is one day you're going to be a trivia question. Where people go, what was the name of that girl that used to anchor? What was the name of that movie star that was in? What was the name of? And you never want to be that with your family. And I remember coming back to work and getting called into the news director's office. And because when you see a piece of paper with your name on it, it catches your eye, and it said Gayle's butt. Now, where is this going to come up in the conversation? And I sat and I waited, and he talked about it's good to have you back, blah, blah, blah. But we've noticed that you've gained some pounds while you were gone, and your butt overhangs the chair. And so, could you move in closer to the desk on the wide shots? And I just sat there. Now we would react very differently. But at the time, all I said was, okay, thank you for your time. Which is crazy when you think about it, because I came back after 3 friggin' days. So does paid maternity leave and the time resonate with you, Jess, in your company?
Absolutely. Our policy currently is 10 weeks maternity and paternity leave.
And paternity.
Yeah, it's equal for both. But since we've grown so quickly over the last 3.5 years, we are now able to enhance that. So I can announce here that we have extended it by January 2016 to 16 weeks paid maternity and paternity. We are a really young company, and we're making a lot of huge sacrifices, and we're investing in the future. At the end of the day, we invest in our employees and our culture internally at the Honest Company. It's so important to us, And we feel if we invest now, it will pay itself off later. And so that's where we're at.
Bravo, and you see the value of that. Why? Because you've got 2 daughters.
I do.
You know.
I do. And I was a crazy person after 10 days. I never would have been able to go back to work. You need to take that time also to bond with your baby.
Yes.
It's also important for men to bond with their babies.
Yes.
It's not just something that women should do. And so I'm really proud of the enhanced policy that we have.
No, I'm proud of that. I'm very happy about that. Here's some statistics they gave me backstage, guys. Did you know that women earn 4% less for every child they bear, yet men earn 6% more? Or that fathers are more likely to be hired and perceived as more competent and stable than mothers? Please explain that to me, Susan.
I'm not sure that.
No, I don't expect you to explain it, but why do you think there is that perception? Let's Google that. Why do you think there is that perception?
Well, I mean, I think that the reason probably for the lower income women is that a lot of women wind up dropping out of the workforce, and there's a lot of statistics saying that every year you drop out of the workforce that there is an impact on your earnings. So I can definitely see that. I can definitely see how that comes about. Although I really don't think it's fair in any way.
Or it also says this, men are spending 3 times as much time with their kids as dads did a generation ago. Yet studies show men who interrupt work for family reasons earn significantly less when they return.
Yeah.
Do you think that we still haven't gotten the message about how important family bonding is? I was surprised to read both of those statistics.
Yeah,
Do we not get that, guys?
Well, I think some companies get it. I actually think the more enlightened companies are getting it. And I think that companies that really focus on the human capital, we're having great people and those people can make a difference, they're starting to get it because they want to retain employees. And I think one of the things that I've been thinking and I've noticed a lot is that productivity is not always correlated with the number of hours that you're working. And there's this perception that if you stay really late at night and if you come in on the weekend, you work really hard, and you do that all the time, that you are really going to be so successful in the workplace. And I don't want to say that you don't have to work hard. You have to work hard, but you need to have balance too. And when I think about, where did my ideas come from? Do they always come? If I'm there at midnight by myself in the office, I'm not really thinking of having so many great ideas anymore. I think a lot of times ideas come from having perspectives and being able to think freshly, think cleanly, think creatively. And I think that's super important, and companies need to recognize that. And that's why balance is so important in our work lives.
And having a clear head, you're shaking your head, Joyce.
I agree, yeah.
That the hours that you work just because you're in the office working long hours, doesn't mean you're being productive.
No, I also think that, I love when we hire people who are parents, because I know they know how to multitask, and they're very efficient with their time.
Yes.
And so, they're there for 6 hours and it's going to matter, and they're going to make it happen, whatever it is. And I think it's important to shut down and to shut off. My weekends are when I'm that's my family time. I wasn't always this way. I was working 24/7. I didn't know when to stop, but after I had kids, I can never give back my moments when they're 4. Right now they're 4 and 7, and every night is so precious because in 2 weeks and 3 weeks they're going to be different people and they're going to like different things.
Well, this is what I heard about. This is what I heard about you, Jessica Alba. That you weren't just a figurehead at the company. That you're not just a pretty face who looks great and work. You're not just that. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. They said Jessica Alba is very hands-on, that she's physically in the office and physically involved and clearly present. That was very important. That is very important to you. Why?
Because it's my 3rd baby. I care about every piece of the company, from the way that the website is flowing to how we're marketing to customers or potential customers, to how our end caps look in Target and Nordstrom, and are we being displayed properly, training on my customer service, are they telling the right message? I mean, even packing out our boxes, you know, are they getting surprised and delight every single time they open a package every month? I want to bring joy and delight to people's life. I want to make their life easier, and I want to give them peace of mind. And so I do touch on every part of the product.
Can I just say a plug for your product? This is called Younger Face. I used this morning. And if you could touch my skin, you would know that how soft it is because I use the Honest Bubble Bath just this morning. This is called Younger Face, and I just thought the packaging was so
Thank you.
It really stands out, so I appreciate that. This is a thing that, go ahead, Susan.
I was going to say, I just bought her diapers.
Diapers, yeah.
Yeah, and I got, it was just, I've heard all about the different patterns.
Yeah, we have all different patterns. So I didn't just want a safe and effective product, but I also wanted it to be cute. And I was
It's funny that you just bought the diapers because I got an honest testimonial. This is from Tony J, Nebraska. Used my Tiny Prince Honest diapers on my heavy wetter for the first time overnight, and they did a great job. Love the diapers, and this is my favorite pattern. But even something as simple as a pattern though on a diaper, because when I was coming up, we had white diapers and that was it. And now just to see all the different colors and the different styles, I think is fun. I like what you said about balance, Susan, because you're the only person I've ever heard say this, and I so believe this, that you said, while people are trying to figure out balancing their children and their career and their husbands, that the really hectic period of having a baby is really fairly brief, which I think is so true. I think that we forget that. You know, it is a lot of work, there's no question, but that hectic time, that very early stage where you can't take your eyes off of them because you're worried about them, is a really brief period of time because soon they're potty trained and they're walking, and then they're employed, hopefully, not comfortably. I think that's something that people don't think about.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I found it really hard when my kids were in the birth to early preschool stage, birth to sort of 3 years old. But even by 3, like, they want to get out of the house and socialize and make friends.
They know a lot.
They know a lot. They have a lot of activities. They have other things going on. And so by that point, I really felt like they were starting to have their own lives and their own activities. And so it really was just those first couple of years that were just really hard to get through. And I think it's really, a lot of times, the first baby is really hard to get through. That's what I found. It was really hard for me. And so what I found is if you can actually just know that there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that you can, if you can just get through it, that then later you'll still be in the workforce and have built the skills, and it'll be really beneficial.
And I also think, I come from a school where mom's happy, everybody's happy in the house, and I think the great thing about women today is you can decide. You can decide if you want to work inside, if you want to work outside the home. It isn't a one-size-fits-all, and you have to figure it out. Jessica Alba, when you were growing up, did you ever think that you would hear movie star turned mogul? When you were a little entrepreneur, did you have a lemonade stand when you were a little kid? Did you have that?
Worse. I dressed up as a clown in Riverside, California to get people to go to a new condo thing that my dad's friend was trying to sell, and I was in that clown suit for 12 hours, and all I did was practice color and barf on the way home. That was my real first job. And I only got $20.
And you made $20?
That was terrible.
So is that where the entrepreneur's
That's it.
That was it?
$20 and done. He was like, you can get so much candy for $20.
Is that where the entrepreneurial spirit was born?
Yeah, I was like, I never want to do this again. Never ever.
But you started a strategy early in terms of when you're starting in Hollywood. People seem to think that there's a beginning and an end to a Hollywood career. Were you thinking ahead about that? Because you're right in the middle of your Hollywood career.
Yeah, I mean,
your Hollywood career is by no means over.
I never thought of there being an expiration date as an actress. I felt like it's just different stages. You play different roles. Like first you play the ingenue, and then you play the mom, and then you play the career woman, and then you play the grandmother.
Yes.
I mean, there's all different kinds of roles to play. I knew that Young's company needed to exist, and I just knew it needed to happen, not just for my family, but for everybody's family. It shouldn't be hard or expensive for people to have access to safe and effective products, and so that's really where my drive came from. It was a bit of a social justice issue. It was definitely a nonprofit mission that I built a for-profit business around.
I'm curious about what it was like in the Wojicki household, because I know your sister Anne, she's also a badass.
Yeah.
You have another sister, Janet,
Yeah.
also a badass. And then you,
Yeah.
also a badass.
Yeah.
So when you were growing up, did you know that, did you decide, I know I'm going to be successful? Whatever I decide to do, I'm going to be damn good at it. Was that your attitude? And you went to college.
Yeah.
I went to University of Maryland. Yes, Terrapin, yay!
Well, I think that the thing that was interesting about my childhood was that I grew up on a college campus. And so everyone who was a neighbor
Stanford, yes.
at Stanford was a professor. And so, when I was growing up, I used to read these stories about the firemen and the policemen and the grocer, and I would look around at my neighbors, and one of them was a mathematician, and was a professor of education or operations research, and so it took me a really long time to understand what these people did.
But you gravitated towards tech, Susan.
Well, I think what happened was what growing up on the campus, what made me realize is I just wanted to do things that mattered. All the people that I was surrounded were people who had come up with some passion in their life, and they dedicated their life to doing this really well and becoming a professor and then teaching in it. And the reality is really I had no idea what I wanted to dedicate my life to. If you look at my career, I was, in high school I was into math, and then in college I was history and literature, and then I got a degree in economics, and then I thought maybe I'd be a photographer, and then I thought, oh, maybe I'll work in, at one point I wanted to join the foreign service. I was just all over the place in terms of different degrees. But then I actually discovered tech almost by accident, and what I liked about it, which I think a lot of people don't see, particularly a lot of women don't see, is just how creative it really is. And
women don't see that? I mean, when I came to Dreamforce today, I knew it was going to be predominantly male, and it is, which I think is, I like that. But I'm thinking, where are the women in tech? It's a story we do all of the time on the news. Where are the women in tech?
Yeah.
Where is they?
Where are they? I've been looking for them, and we're hiring. So people need to. We want more. I've been trying to put a lot of energy into women in tech, and how do I make this work? And how can I make a difference as a woman and a leader in tech?
Do you think men understand the importance of women in tech?
I think they do, because I think they understand that it's diverse. They want diversity. They want to work with a bunch of different kinds of people.
We're the ones that are consuming online. There should be more of us behind the scenes creating that experience. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of, if you look at the customers, a lot of times are women, for a lot of these products, and I think it's really important that you have that diversity. But where are they? I think it's both a pipeline problem. If you look at the number of women who have degrees in computer science, it's less than 20% right now in terms of graduating from U.S. universities. And then I think it's a retention problem. Women come into tech, and then they're more likely to leave. And I think there's a lot of research, and people are trying to prevent them from leaving and trying to create really supportive environments. But I think there are a lot of reasons that have been cited. I think first of all, whenever you have an environment that's a majority of something, it's hard for the minority. So just sort of starting there, I think being a minority is hard. But I think there are other things like the myth of the long hours. There are long hours, but I think they sometimes are concerned about that. Maternity leave has been tried it, it's something different.
But I think there's long hours in any job that you do if you're doing it well and you want to be a success. Do you not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that just sort of comes with the territory of being successful.
Yeah.
There's going to be long hours.
I mean, I think computer science though has, and I think incorrectly, I think it's got a reputation that is not completely accurate. And that's, I think, has scared away a lot of people. And if you sort of look at like, well, what is the reputation of computer science and Silicon Valley and startups and their long hours and like lots of guys with their computers.
Yeah, and we actually, as part of Honest Beauty, we have a social aspect to everything at Honest Company. At Honest Beauty, we dedicated to girls who code and teaching teenage girls to code. And we had our first summer immersion program, and we had like 20 girls at our office every day for 6 weeks, and we taught them how to code, and they got to create apps about stuff that they cared about.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. There's around 18% of women in computer science, so there's not a whole lot of women that you can even employ. There's just not a whole lot out there. And
Are you a tech person? Are you tech proficient?
I do not know how to code, but I can put in a JIRA ticket.
Are you speaking English right now?
It's another language.
This audience,
It's another
the audience barely knows.
So yeah, there's a whole new world in language, and these girls, it was interesting through their eyes. I mean, their ages range from about 15 to 17, and most of them said, like, I just didn't know it would be this creative or fun, or I can create something out of, they just didn't even know the opportunity for them. Do you find that's the case?
Yeah, see, that's where I feel that there's a misperception when I see the perceptions and the stereotypes, but then I see the reality of this is a field that's very creative. There's lots of opportunity. You get to work in groups and in teams. You get to build products and change the world and have those products used by people all over the globe. Those are all things that really should be interesting and attractive to women and to diverse audiences. So,
Do you find your daughters are interested in what you do?
yeah, so I had a problem where my oldest daughter came to me one day and said, I don't like computers.
At your house?
And I thought, oh my gosh, like, here I am, and like trying to get girls in tech. I have this problem at work, and now I have this problem at home. And so I decided, like, how can I fix this? Like, I have to address this issue with my daughter. Like, she doesn't have to go into computer science or have to be proficient, but she has to be proficient, because I think it's a really important skill for everybody to have in the future.
Even if you're not in the business, you should be proficient.
Even if you're not in the business, you should be proficient. And I think it should be a required course for everybody when they're going to school. Just like we take biology and chemistry and physics, everybody, they should take computer science. And that's one way to address the diversity issue. That's one way to, like, suddenly, instantly, everybody has access and everybody, is digitally literate. So my daughter, she did not like computers, and it was interesting. I asked her, what happened? And she said, well, there's only one computer, and her older brother, she said, well, he was on it all the time. He conquered it. That's what she said. He conquered the computer, and so I found something else to do. And so I sent her to a computer camp. She didn't want to go to it. I made her go. And she came back.
And wait, Susan, and you made her go?
I made her go because she didn't want to go. But I thought, oh, like, this will be so good. She'll get good exposure. And she came back and she said, everyone in the class was a boy, and nobody was like me, and I hate computers even more.
Yowza.
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going the wrong direction.
So what do you do as CEO?
Well, so one of the things that I wound up doing was I wound up calling the camp. And I eventually wound up meeting the CEO of the camp. And
It's funny. So Susan, you call and say, I'm Susan, and I'd like to meet with you. I would be so nervous if I was her.
well, so I got to the CEO. Well, first I had to just get her, like, in her, I was like, no, you're going back the next day. So I couldn't get to the CEO that day. So I kind of had to make do. And then I eventually got to the CEO.
Susan, would you be on the line? She wants to speak to you. Okay.
And he, I think.
What was it, he?
It's a he. The CEO was a he of the tech. And actually it was like this organization called Ivy Tech that does camps across the United States. And so I talked to him about it, and he decided that they would run a trial program of just girls.
He decided after you had a chat.
Yes, after we had a chat.
Susan, I like how you said, and then he decided that we were going to talk about
Good CEO right there.
It is. Yes.
Yeah, and so they ran, and then, of course, I had my daughter go,
Yes.
right, to test it out. And I had her write a little pro and con and essay and about it, and which I then sent to them. And they sent back like a nice marketing letter to her. It was really cute. And
Does she like computers now?
you know, you know what? She likes them. I mean, that's amazing. She now really likes computers. And one of the things that actually blew me away was within a short period of converting her, she, in art class, drew this watch, which I think she called it she drew a watch, and this was before Apple and Samsung and everybody had these digital watches. And she drew it in her art class of like, this is what I think I should have. And it was like, had her friends and her speakerphone and where she was going to watch videos. And she was beginning to think about creating things that were digital. And I realized that if I hadn't put that extra effort into it, and so she brought it home, and I was like, wow, that's so cool, like you're dreaming this up, you want to build these types of things, and now she thinks she's good at computers, and
But what is good, Susan? But you did that. You did that because you could have handled it totally differently and said, okay, and gone on to something else. And you insisted that she go back. Are your kids computer illiterate? Are your kids computer illiterate? They proficient? I'm amazed at what these little kids can do.
I mean, they can navigate YouTube like a champion. They watch Disney collector videos. Their favorite video channel. But I did send my 7-year-old to coding camp.
To coding camp?
Coding camp, and she made an app. But they should have like given her some boundaries because she wanted her app to cost $80, $70. I'm like, nobody's gonna download that. My husband's like, you're just being too hard on her. And I'm like, I'm not, I'm just like stating facts. Like 99 cents.
That is such an odd number, 80
I was
cents.
like, give it for free at first.
Yeah.
Get your user base up on her. I was like, no, it's
Such an odd number. Yeah.
this is such a great experience for your daughter, right? Like that's like having a lesson there in entrepreneurship
and her app.
economics and pricing.
No, she had to do pricing. She had to figure out what the app was going to do and the value. The customer was everybody. She didn't, I was like, is it men or women or children? She's like, no, it's for everybody.
It's everybody.
And if anyone who wants to look good, anyone with the hair and makeup app.
This is what I wish you would do, Jessica Alba, and honor too. If you guys could figure out a way to make hot shoes that don't cripple you by the end of the day. All these companies say, oh, I have it, and then you look at the shoes and they look like Aunt Esther's shoes. If somebody could come up with something, I did an interview with Christian Louboutin once, and he goes, I don't care about the shoes comfort. I'm making art. But we can't friggin' walk by the end of the day.
Not even after the end of an hour.
Yes, by the end of the hour, so we could come up with that.
Yeah.
But let's go back to women in tech and what we need to do about it. Because I thought it was interesting that you said most of your mentors have been men.
Yeah, they have been.
So clearly there are many men who get this and understand the importance of this.
Yeah, I think there are definitely lots of men that get it, and the reality is because of the numbers and the situation that we're in right now, where most companies, the majority of them, most tech companies, the majority of them are men, and a lot of leaders are men. We need the men to look at their teams and find out who are the women here that I can support, that I can help get to the next level. And I think, I certainly worked really, really hard over the course of my career, but I realized that there were some men that sponsored me, that helped me, that gave me that next position, that said, I think you can do this job, and they had a vote of confidence in me. And it's really only because they did that I'm in the role today.
Yes. So bravo.
And I'm very grateful
Yes.
to them.
Yes. No, I like the role. How do we do this without sounding like we're a bunch of whiny women, Yeah, Maya Angelou said it once to me before she passed away. Whining is so unbecoming. It lets everyone know there's a victim in the neighborhood. And you never want to be that person that's just whining. And I'm always trying to figure out how to make the case for things that you don't just sound like you're bitching and moaning and complaining. I'm really trying to show the advantages. Because there's so much research that shows that when women are in top positions or women at the table, we think differently, we operate differently, we solve problems. We're not trying to play the game of whose is bigger. We just really want the thing. We want to win, but we want to win and make it work. So how do we do that, guys, without sounding like we're whining and complaining?
Well, I think
No,
Is that a good question?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. Susan's been doing this a lot longer than me, so I'm going to let her speak.
But Jessica, in your own company, do you find yourself looking out? Are you on the lookout for women? And I know we all want the best person. I get that. I totally get that. But do you find yourself looking around when you're hiring?
Absolutely. We're always trying to find amazing talent, especially a focus on women. I mean, we are a company, at the end of the day, it's for women.
Yeah.
Women are buying our products mostly. And yeah, I mean, that's something that I believe in, is something that I support. Like I said, we support Girls in Code.
And can we mention you just got the maternity pay?
And I did. We enhanced our policy for women and men. And yeah, it's just there's just not a lot out there to choose from. Unfortunately, I wish there were more women that we can hire. Do you find the same challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a pipeline issue, but then I think there's a retention issue too, and
A retention issue?
meaning retaining women and having them continue to work in the tech workforce. I mean, I wish I had all the solutions, and if I did, I would definitely do everything I could to fix it. But I think at the end of the day, short term to fix it, it has to come from the leaders that are in Silicon Valley. I think it has to come from the top, where the leaders of the companies, the managers of the companies say, we believe in diversity, we want to have diversity in our company. We go to the recruiters and say, we need to do better. Those candidates are out there. And then when I think the candidates come, we need to be able to make sure that we have supportive environments, that the opportunities for promotion are the same, that there are environments for people to connect, to have friends, to feel supported in that work environment. And then I think long term, the only real way to fix it is to make it a required class for everybody. For everybody. And then you solve it all at one time, because suddenly everybody is getting access to this perception that, only people like this are the computer experts. No, everybody can become a computer expert.
It should be a basic skill that everybody knows, absolutely. But it might take you and a bunch of other people in tech, and I'll join if you want me to go and fight for this initiative and make it something that is, across all of the education systems. I mean, When did you feel it just has to, you might have to go to the government and make it part of the curriculum?
Jessica Alba, the numbers about your company are really staggering. I mean, they said that both of your companies, by the way, it starts with 3 in terms of the money that they talk about that you're making, that you all are worth. When did you realize that this company is really taking off and I have something here? And what that moment felt like to you? After people said, oh, Jessica, go ahead, good luck with that. Why don't you do a perfume line?
When did I know it's really
When you thought, you know what? I have made, this is working.
Yeah.
This is really working.
I
have a company.
I think it was like the first month we were up, and people were emailing us and posting under my Facebook posts or my Instagram posts just how, trying the product out for a couple days, how it impacted their life. People that I don't know, that I never met. It wasn't like my family members just saying, oh yeah, this is really nice. It was like someone that I didn't know and then saying, you made my life better. I slept through the night because my baby, after using your diapers, didn't get diaper rash. Or after using your detergent, my baby didn't have this asthma attack that my baby normally has. And my mom works at my company.
Does she?
Yeah. She's on my sales team. She goes around the country and she trains on the floor staff at Nordstrom's, Target's, Whole Foods, and Bye Bye Babies on the Honest Company products. And she brings them donuts in the morning and pizza in the afternoon.
Very nice.
So yeah, it's really cool. She's really proud. So proud that she even joined the company. So that's really neat.
That's very nice. I didn't know that.
Kathy Alba.
I didn't see that. What's her name?
Kathy Alba.
Kathy Alba.
Yeah, Alba on the road.
Alba on the road. I like that. And for you, Susan, when did you know that you are good at what you do? And I'm not just talking about YouTube. I'm talking about back in the day. You're in the garage. You were the first person who became pregnant with you. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I joined.
Were they not having sex before you joined? You and your husband.
Pregnant.
Oh, you were
I joined pregnant.
But you were the first pregnant person in Google.
Yes, I definitely was.
Are you proud of that? I think that's interesting. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Maybe she was the question again. No, I want to know now.
What was the question again?
That when did you know that you were good at what you do? And I'm not talking about YouTube. I'm talking about way back in the day because you were one of the, you were at the ground early with Google.
When I joined Google, I had just graduated from my MBA. So I really had no practical work experience. But the good news is I had more experience than Sergey and Larry. So they didn't know that. And so I didn't really know if I was good at what I did. But I think one of the things that I've learned working in tech is that everyone is doing things for the first time. There's a lot of firsts. And so you have to be willing to just ask the stupid questions, plunge in, and learn.
Nobody wants to ask stupid questions in front of a potential boss.
But I think in this industry, you have to be able to constantly be learning and constantly be asking the questions. And so, I don't really know what I figured out. I was able to do things, but I just plunged in anyway. And I think that is what you have to do to be successful, because things keep changing and nobody is the expert. And if you're just willing to learn, you can actually learn pretty quickly and get to a reasonable answer.
So when it comes to hiring for both of you, and somebody walks into your office, are you looking for somebody who has experience, or are you looking for somebody that you just can tell is enthusiastic and passionate and hasn't done it before?
I think
what catches your eye?
I think both. There are definitely going to be some roles where we need people who have, they have real experience in certain areas. And the internet has certainly matured in the last 15 years since I've been working and since Google got started. But I think we're also really looking for people who are generalists, people who are willing to learn the next thing, because we don't know all the answers and we don't know all the skills, and people are, whatever we hire them for, probably the environment's going to change. And so you have to hire people who are learners, they're curious, and they just want to do the right thing and create a great product.
What about you, Jess? What are you looking for?
Yeah, I find the same thing. I look for common sense and people who want to collaborate. Those are like the key things. That to me is always more important to me than a degree. And real life
degree? More than a degree?
For me it is. And real life experience. If you have tried, if you're a serial entrepreneur and sometimes we've gotten some coders and they've launched 3 or 4 businesses that have failed. They take all of that experience with them, and I celebrate them and I love them, and I don't care if they have a fancy degree or not. I love that they hustle, they have common sense, and they're problem solvers.
My other job is at the Oprah magazine, Hope You're a Subscriber. And we always end the magazine, Oprah's last page is always what I know for sure. So as we leave here today, I want you both to tell me what you know for sure. I'm gonna go to you, Jessica.
No, Susan.
I think Jessica's a good choice.
What do you know for sure?
That Susan is a badass.
You cannot give that answer. What do you know for sure, Susan?
Oh, now we're punting to...
I'm going back to Jessica.
All right, we'll go back to Jessica. What do I know for sure? Can I say 2 things?
Yes.
All right. I know for sure that technology is changing our lives in ways that we can't even imagine now. And that is really just getting started. And technology has to become more inclusive. And it will. It will become mainstream. I know that will happen over time. And it will happen.
Is the BlackBerry coming back?
No. Sorry, are you a BlackBerry user?
Yes, I'm holding on to the BlackBerry. I have the classic, but I also have the iPhone 2. I have the iPhone 2, which always never stays charged, but I have it.
Okay, I get some Android phones too. It's really easy to it. It's like really easy.
Susan, I just ordered the 6. I had the iPhone 5. I just ordered the 6. I'm feeling very proud about that, but I'm just hoping that the BlackBerry's coming back because I like the keyboard. But Jessica, what do you know for sure? And then we're done.
Okay, what do I know for sure?
Yes.
I know for sure that you'll never know if something's going to succeed if you don't try. Put yourself out there.
Customer centric at its finest. We started Salesforce in